started over a decade ago. A day to raise awareness, a day to raise funds, to lead with our mission and continue to improve our programs and the lives of those living with disabilities. Teams were assembled, leaderboards were built, and records were set. Serious records. And then came our 10th walk in 2020. We were unstoppable. And in an instant, everything changed. It was time to put the walk aside as we managed the front lines of a health crisis. We climbed back to better. It was now time to reignite a fire, restart an engine, and reset our goals, because we waited, we adapted, and we persevered. And now, we celebrate. Walktoberfest 2022. We got this.
Wasn't that something? Guys, my name is Dan Harrison. You know who I am. I'm here to talk about a little event that we had this past Saturday. Did I mention this is New Path Live? You're watching New Path Live. And if you're out there watching right now, and if you were there on Saturday the 15th, you know what a spectacular Walktoberfest event we had held here at our home offices in Woburn. We had about 250 people attending. It was a thrill of my career. I was going to say, I don't know if it was in the top 5 anyway. It was that great. And the unity and the enthusiasm for New Path and our mission was just spectacular. And we're going to talk about that today because for those of you who missed it, maybe that will encourage you to come next year. And for those of you who came, you probably are still riding high, as I am, on all that we did together. Brett Riley and our own Greg Morris had a conversation earlier. We're going to listen to that a little later about some of the specifics and the particulars as they kind of were thinking through some of what happened and what they liked. And I want to just kick it off by sharing a little bit of what I did in the presentation of the award ceremony that day, and just to put some perspective for folks to see it again if they forgotten, or just to reinforce the amazing fundraising prowess of individual fundraisers, of our Club 50, of our individual teams, or the teams that we had in first, second, and third place. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Of course, Walktoberfest is the new concept in the sense that it's never been branded that way, but this was replacing the walk that we had scheduled in March. Began in March of 2020 for April of 2020. Of course, we all know that a little thing called COVID-19 came up on us unexpectedly. We postponed and then had this indefinite delay. So it was the first chance that we've been back together in about 3 years. And we set our goal high. It was $375,000. Now, this was based on that we had, as we begun to kick off our event in 2020, we'd raised around $100,000. So we pushed ourselves another $275,000, guys, and we made it. How did we get there? Well, we had 10 teams. These teams, 10 teams performing just spectacularly at $245,174. Incredible. And not just the top 3. The teams below raised a significant amount of money and are worth mention. We had a total of 1,528 individual donors. So if you're a donor watching, thank you. Your donation made a huge difference and helped us make our goal. And then we had 19 corporate sponsors that also sponsored a beer garden, which was a huge hit. If you were there, you know what I mean. And it was pretty fantastic. Well, moving on, Club 50. It's a little club that you maybe have heard me talk about. This is the group that really gets the job done every year. This group of 50 of the highest donors, fundraisers, raised over $247,000. That is just a spectacular amount. It's almost hard to imagine how 50 people could raise that much money. Those 50 people represent about 20% of the organization. So when we think about the 20/80 rule in fundraising that you often hear about, that was evidenced again this year. And so a huge hats off. We honored the Club 50 members, having them all stand and gave them a huge round of applause. For your own information, this is the list up there. These guys are going to have an expanded enjoy some expanded influence this year. We're really looking to tap into their commitment to the organization, their intellectual kind of understanding, hear more from them about the policies that we make and the decisions that we often are faced with. And they're going to be getting an invitation in the near future to join me in November to do a recap of some of the specifics of the walk. So if you're a Club 50 member out there, you are important, and we were going to show you more this year than ever before. What else did we do? We had stop and think. We had Mayor Scott Galvin, who was there. He and his wife Eileen. He said some really nice things about the value of having New Beth and Woburn, and just really commended our staff for the services that we provide. And then we went on to hear from Rich Haggerty, and he was there with his new baby, Harper Rose, and his wife Haley Haggerty, of course, is on our board of directors. And Rich talked a little bit about the staffing crisis that's been facing New Path in many industries across Massachusetts. And it was great to hear from him. And by the way, we did this all in less than 30 minutes. So I can pat myself on the back for that, but we mean business. We did what we had to do and then got out. Then we went on to talk about a couple of specific awards that we had. The Rockstar Rookie of the Year Award. This is for people who managed to get into Club 50, their first walk ever. And we had one person that managed that incredible feat, and that was Marty Cahill. We raised a ton of money for the organization. And then we introduced a new award this year called the Zero to Hero Award. These are for people that maybe have worked for New Path some time. They may have even attended other walks, but never raised any money, maybe just a registration fee. And we had, I think there were 5 people this year that got into that category. I'm not going to go through all their names, but you see them up here on the screen. We could have done it without these guys. And it's just it sends a message. If you're out there and you're afraid of fundraising and you didn't know if you can do it, you didn't raise much money this walk, next year's a new year, and this could be you. So then we went on to the bigger ones that people are coming for, the trophy worthy awards, and the top 3 individual fundraisers are listed here. We had Betsy Bollier, over 14,000. Betsy was just incredible. We heard from her on our last New Path Live. We then had Steve Selesky, who raised over 11,000. Steve has raised money in the past, but never to this level, never achieved first, second, or third place. And then Elder Soares, who kind of came from behind, well, not really behind. He was, I think, 4 or 5, but he probably 4th. He squeaked into third place in the final couple of days at over $10,000. This is so much money, and these guys really deserve the praise that they received on that day. I know I'm don't have a lot of time here, so I'm going to move right on to the kind of the thing that a lot of people were there for, and that was for the fundraising teams. And consistent with previous years, what I call the juggernaut team, New Boston Strong, raised a whopping over $62,000, exceeded their goal and any other amount that's ever been raised. Followed by they're not really new to the game, but they've never ever raised anything close to this. And that of the MC Hammers, or the team for the Martin Center, they had a great showing at over $54,000. Huge hats off to those guys. They worked hard. Everybody did. And then finally, in third place, the Board of Believers. That's our own board of directors, who are willing to walk the walk, guys, not just talk the talk. And they met their goal, which was $45,000, and raising over $47,000. Incredible showing of support for the organization and helping us get where we needed to go. So that was an amazing thing, and we were really happy. If you were there, I'm sure you agree, and I hope as inspired as I was. Now we're gonna let's hear from Greg and from Brett. These two guys really were kind of at the heart and soul of the leaderboard and in planning and organizing the particulars for what so many details go into making a day successful, from volunteers to parking to porta potties to tents and rented chairs and all of it. And we'll hear from them now.
Brett Riley, how are you doing today?
Doing great, Greg. After that weekend, how could we not be riding on a high, right?
I was going to ask if you've had a chance to either come down from the event or take a rest.
Well, yeah, I guess a little bit. It's always there's always that time where it makes you a little sad because you're on such a high for so long. But no, it was a magnificent weekend, and just really proud of this team reaching a goal of $375,000 raised, and it kept going. The number I think is at 381 at this point. So there's no let up.
It is indeed, and I had the opportunity. I had the pleasure of kind of kicking things off on Saturday, and introducing the hype up video that we had put together for the event, and leading into hearing from Dan to announce the awards and whatnot. But you and I haven't even really had a chance to connect and chat and talk about what an incredible day it was. And by the way, it was an incredible day weather-wise too, wasn't it?
Really, and leading into it on Friday with a monsoon, it was I had a lump in my throat that whole day. But I really just I do not want to forget. I never will forget the hard work that went into it from all the volunteers and our team here that pitched in just countless hours of prep work, and even the day of, and it was just an immense amount of coordination, and we're really had so many people pitch in and make it the day that it was, and the sponsors, the Lions that do all the cooking, and it's just really was humbling that day, and it turned out, in my opinion, to be the best walk we've ever had. So, and we had a beer tent, so how could it be bad, right? Or a beer garden.
In the beer garden, that turned out to be quite popular. Probably not all that surprising, but
Right.
That was an informal survey of some of the attendees. Definitely, the beer garden came in rating quite high on the list of things. But I agree with you. It's certainly the best walk that I've attended. Probably, having been 3.5 years since we actually held an event, had quite a bit to do with that. But there was also just something special in the air. Could you feel that?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It just, every piece of it seemed to come together really nicely. And, that's all due to the energy that the fundraisers put in, the peer-to-peer fundraisers. And I would be remiss not to flash my proud badge of Club 50 2022. Ironically, I was number 22 of 50. I really tried to get in that top 20, but I think one Beth Sheehan might have knocked me out, or maybe a Matt Johnson, or I don't know. I'll have to look again. But we celebrated these people that day as well. The top 3 teams, the top 3 individual fundraisers, and then most importantly, Club 50 that raised, I believe the number was 82% of the total funds. Correct me if I'm wrong. I might have my statistics a little messed up there, but.
Yeah, no, that's accurate. 82% of the peer raised funds. So some of the sponsorship goes right to the event. Sure. You take that out. It's incredible. And it's funny because you mentioned Beth Sheehan knocked you out. I think I was number 11 right up until right before the close, and Heather Gramsdorf just passed me. And she told me the story on Saturday. She actually did that poolside while she was still in Las Vegas. She threw in some last minute support in different ways and leapfrogged me. So, like you said, we celebrated Club 50, we celebrated some of the top individual fundraisers. We heard from Betsy Bollier at the last live. We also had some new awards this year. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. We called 1-0 to hero. And then there was the rookie, Rockstar rookie, I believe, as well. And we had one Rockstar rookie, and that was Marty Cahill, who was just, I mean, as if he hasn't done enough over the last couple of years for us. He took the fundraising world by storm and really crushed it. And then we had a handful of 0 to hero people that typically hadn't raised money, maybe had supported other people in prior years, and then really hopped on board and became part of Club 50, which is really remarkable. And it goes to show, this is sort of I guess my plea to people that may feel like they can't participate in the peer-to-peer process and the fundraising process. You really can. There's people that haven't traditionally done it and maybe felt a little awkward or out of place about how to do it, but there's always 50 people mulling around here that can tell you all about how to raise money and be part of this group. So I highly recommend it.
And we see it, example after example. And a lot of times it is people who don't necessarily feel like confident. Oh, who am I going to ask? And, I don't have all that many friends and I don't have a great social presence. But then there's also a bit of a competitiveness that takes over. And, I won't mention any names, but Dan spends a lot of time kind of reaching out to people, sending texts, sending notes, sending videos. And there's two examples that I can think of people that you just wouldn't think would have historically raised any money. And that prompting has elevated them or helped to elevate them into Club 50. But it's all them, it's all them. And like you said, it's a confidence thing too. Once you get going, you feel I can do this. I can do this. And it's a special club.
Yeah, it sure is. And we're gonna continue to celebrate that club and just sort of foster this relationship that we all have once you're in it and you kind of feel the love, and it's a lot of fun. So we're gonna have a lot of fun this year. I do want to jump in and not forget about also, and maybe this is what you were going to bring up, our community support. We had Representative Richard Haggerty with us, as well as Mayor Galvin from Woburn, and I should say we doubled over the course of the entire campaign. We doubled our corporate sponsorship as well. So we really saw a big step up from the general, Middlesex County, if you will, community and further. And that's an important piece because individual fundraisers and person to person and peer to peer can't do it all. We need the corporate money, and we support our local communities with our Without Walls programs and our administrative staff and we shop our local restaurants and establishments, and we really look for that local support. So that played a big role.
So important. And, we're kind of officially tallying how many attendees we had that day. I mean, the rough estimate is somewhere around 250. That's my rough estimate. I don't know. You might have a different number.
No, that's about right. Yeah.
And, I was thinking about some of the community partners, but also families. And there were some families that probably have never, they're familiar with New Path, of course, but to have this event as the first exposure of the full community gathering together must have just been so mind-blowing, because this place looked amazing, it felt amazing, it sounded amazing. There was so much going on, there was so much energy that even my mom, I was there with my mom and one of my daughters, and my mom was just kind of in disbelief as we were walking and said, this is just so impressive. It's hard to believe. It's breathtaking. So
yeah, when you're in the thick of it or you're part of it, sometimes you maybe have a blind eye to it, how impressive it is. We just got the pictures in today, and it was incredible. If a loved one of mine were to attend a program here and that was my first impression of the program, or one impression of what the integrity and pride that the program had, boy, that would have blown me away. It still blows me away, being, I guess, in the thick of it. But it's nice to look at it from the outside once in a while. And you're right, it was an impressive sight.
It can't be said enough how incredible the people that are part of this organization are. The individual fundraisers, the supporters, everything. It takes your breath away. I will say we forgot to mention one part, and that is, and my daughter enjoyed this, the animal show.
Right.
That we brought in, and that included alligator and an owl and all different types of animals that was definitely unexpected. But I guess the question is, where do we go from here?
Well, it can only go up, I guess. No, well, I shouldn't say that. It can only go up. We're up pretty high, but and we did have a drone, so we're due some drone footage as well.
Did you get to control it at all? You probably didn't have a chance. But
no, I didn't. You didn't want me controlling a drone, Greg.
I took a turn for 2 minutes, and it was fun. So anyway, Brett, thank you. I know Dan has said it many times, but you really just were an absolute rock star in terms of gathering all of us together, putting the resources in, and just making this just an incredible event, an incredible campaign. So thank you from all of New Path to you and the work that you put in and all the volunteers. And again, it's a community, right? It's all of us. It's all the
families. I appreciate the words, but it took a village. So thanks to, there's just too many people to name, but you know who you are, and we got this.
We got this, baby. All right. See you later.
Phew. Well, if you think it's hard to compress the most successful, historic fundraising event in New Path's more than 50-year history, you're right, it is. But we tried to do that today. And if you've never been before, I hope this inspires you to come. This is a really well-run event. It's spectacular. I've been to a lot of events, I should know. And I think just so exciting. I've just been still writing on some of those post-event fumes. Thanks to all of you and your continued dedication and support of New Path. We do such important work, you guys, and this money helps us to offset some of the shortages that we have from the state and federal government. You heard Greg and Brett talking about the drone. Yeah, we're with it, man. We're New Path. We're going to go out to some of that footage so you can see what they're talking about and get a slightly different perspective of what the day was all about. And as I always say, we got this. Oh, we got this. See you guys next time. Bye-bye. Straight to the sky, back me up and I'll have your back till we die, 'cause we're a team. Come together with me, be what you wanna be, all for one, 'cause it's a guarantee, yeah. We got this. We got this.
Trees making beautiful sounds, raise our voice like a choir for miles around. Lift me up and I'll lift you straight to the sky. Back me up and I'll have your back till we die, 'cause we're a team. Falling like trees making beautiful sounds, raise a voice like